Aloha, e como mai, and welcome aboard. Welcome to Just Cruisin. This is the weekly podcast that's produced by me, Larry Jackson, and I'll be your cruise director for this week's edition, recorded on Thursday, September 10th, 2020. And we're really glad to have you aboard and welcome. I am the co-owner of Cruise Holidays of Viera, and we are a boutique travel advisory service located in Melbourne, Florida, but available to you worldwide on our webpage, Just Cruisin Viera. That's Cruisin without a G, Viera, Viera.com, justcruisinviera.com. Also, you can contact us anytime at 321-242-1331. We're located, as I said, in Melbourne, Florida on the East Coast. And we would love to be your travel advisor for your next vacation. I want you to stay tuned for later on in our podcast. I've got some really exciting news for those of you who live in Florida, who are Florida residents, and who love Disney. Hey, before we get started, I wanted to show you this. I get a lot of comments on this. Now, this is a globe, and as you can see, it's rotating, and it operates with a set of magnets and solar power. And the solar power comes from the lights in my office, so you can rotate it like this. And it's called a MOVA. And you can get these. I got this on an Azamara cruise, but you can get these on Amazon, and it's called MOVA, M-O-V-A. Now, the only bad thing about it is I was explaining to some people about Antarctica, and I was trying to turn the globe upside down so that they could see Antarctica, but as you can see, you can't do that, so it doesn't work for that. But anyway, it's a cool desk item, and it's called the MOVA. If you'd like to get one, Amazon has them. Okay, without further ado, I want to tell you we're really excited to have Disney Cruise Line's Florida resident rates available again. And it's been many, many years since we had these, and they are available for the Disney Dream on the 3 and the 4 night cruises. We have 3 dates for the 4-night cruise, which are January 22nd, the 29th, and February 5th of 2021. A couple of caveats for this. A balcony cabin, again, Florida resident rates for the dates. This is on a 4-day cruise. The balcony cabin rate for the Florida resident is $1,604 for the cabin. That's $802 per person, and that's the 4-day cruise. That's normally about $2,500 or $3,000. The balcony that's available, though, is the Navigator balcony, and it's a balcony that it's enclosed. It has like a metal facing on it, and then a porthole opening. Now, it's a full balcony, but it's just not completely open. It has some metal around the edges of it, so it's not the regular. But this is a phenomenal rate. We also have 3-day rates available on the January 25th. February 1st and February 22nd cruises, and this is on the Disney Dream out of Port Canaveral. Disney Dream has been rated the #1 cruise ship by Condé Nast for many, many years now. It is a wonderful cruise going to Nassau in the Bahamas and to their private island, Castaway Cay. And if you have been on a Disney ship before, you know how great they are. If you haven't, this is a great opportunity for you to try it. So Florida resident rates, the rates are extremely limited. Very few cabins are going to be available, so we're not doing a whole lot of advertising on this. If you'd like to make a reservation for it, you can give us a call at 321-242-1331, and we'll get you on board Disney if there's any cabins left. So I just don't know by the time this podcast gets broadcast and how much availability we're going to have. I'm not saying this just to get you to hurry. I'm saying it because it is very limited. So, okay, well, because of the Labor Day holiday this week, we haven't really had a lot of news in the cruise world or the travel world. I guess I can start with giving you an update on pretty much where we are right now. We are still in limbo as far as restarting cruises is concerned. We we are in a no-sail voluntary suspension of cruise operations by all the major cruise lines that they have instituted via the Cruise Lines International Association, or CLIA, and that's set to expire on October 30th. We are under a no-sail order by the CDC that's expected to, or currently extends through September 30th. The problem with that no-sail order is that we are still in a comment period by the CDC until September 21st. And if you listened to last week's podcast, I just want to remind you that they have asked for public comments, and they had 27-something questions they were asking for comments on before they're going to authorize us to sail again. So that's pretty much where we're at right now. My best guess is what I'm looking at for us to restart is I'm thinking that if we got really lucky, we might have some 3- and 4-day cruises out of American ports, say Port Canaveral, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Galveston, New Orleans. We might be able to get those started in the month of December, probably the latter part of December. But I think the better guess is going to be that all of these are going to start up in January. And so we'll start off with probably the 3- and the 4-day cruises from these Florida ports. And then we'll be adding ships and capacity as we go along. Now, what it's going to look like, I have no idea as far as masks are concerned. I mean, we've reported to you what MSC has been doing, and seems to be working so far. We don't really have a clue. I don't even want to speculate on that. So, mask season is going to happen starting in May, and then different people and making guesses and whatever. I may be completely off base. So. We still have the 3 obstacles to restarting cruising, which I talked about last week. The first one and foremost is the CDC no-sail order. That's probably going to be our biggest hurdle to overcome. The next factor in restarting is going to be the ports of call. Got a little bit of news as far as that's concerned. The Bahamas this week announced that they were moving into Phase 3 and looking at a Phase 4. Now, their Phase 3 is, they're talking about starting Phase 3 on October 15th. And Phase 3 is basically going to allow the resorts and beaches to open up in the Bahamas. And then they mentioned that possibly by November they could be into Phase 4, which would allow cruise ships. So at least someone is starting to talk about this at the ports of call about, some dates. And that's why I'm getting a little bit more optimistic about things starting up in December, because people are starting to mention dates. And I just think maybe that's a good sign. Along those lines, the Minister of Tourism, the Tourism Minister Dionisio de Aguilar, said this week that he had been in contact with several cruise lines who were requesting to be able to start cruises, but just to the private islands. Again, this makes a lot of sense because it's a lot more, there's no population to control, no worries about passengers infecting the local people or the local people infecting passengers. So it makes sense that our first initial foray into restart of cruising would be just to the private islands in the Bahamas. He says that he told the cruise lines, this is the Minister of Tourism in Bahamas, that he told the cruise lines that he was okay with doing that on a temporary basis, but he really wanted them to get started to visit the ports of call in the major towns in the Bahamas, such as Nassau and Freeport, obviously for the economic impact it's going to have for the islands. So that's a little bit of news. And then I found in a very obscure publication called the Riviera Maya News from Mexico that the head of state tourism there, Marisol Vanegas Perez, says that she has been in contact with several cruise lines, which she doesn't want to name because of the speculation, expressing an interest in going to Cozumel in November. And she said they would be all set to go, that Cozumel would be fine with them restarting operations. So these are just little hints that I gleaned as we went along, or as I'm going through the emails on a daily basis as to what's going on as far as restarting cruising. One of the big obstacles also, I think, to starting international cruising, overseas cruising, is going to be airfares and flying. And I think, again, our third leg of our restart, we said the CDC was one of the obstacles. The ports of call was the other one, whether they're going to reopen. And the third is going to be your attitude towards cruising and getting there. And I know a lot of you don't even want to leave the house, much less go on an airplane. So we get a little bit of good news this week in the airfare portion of this, in that all of the major airlines are now waiving their change fees, which means we can go ahead and book air. And if the cruise is canceled or whatever's going on, or you don't want to go, then you can move those air tickets to another travel time, another destination, whatever. So that's going to make it a little bit easier, more flexible for you to consider rebooking or starting to book. And I think right now, with these hints that we're getting, and the just the whole nature of the pandemic, the pandemic is really starting, I believe, on a downturn, as far as if you look at the number of new cases in the United States, the number of new deaths. All of these are trending down, and it's really trending down in the whole world. And so I think as that gets more and more downtrend and people get less and less afraid of it, then there's going to be more and more of a demand to get out there and start to travel again. And I'm urging you to start. I think now, as I read the other day, now is the time to dream. We need to start dreaming. Where do we want to go? I mean, a lot of us are really, really, we got a lot of pent-up travel desire. So now's the time to start. Where do you want that first cruise to be? Now, Linda and I will be, if at all possible, we were going to be on the very first cruise leaving Port Canaveral whenever that occurs. And if possible, we're going to take a group with us, and we're going to be offering you group rates on that cruise, because we can't wait to get started again. So wherever it's going, I don't care when it goes, I want to be on the very first cruise going out of Port Canaveral once we reopen. So we'll have more information on that as we go along. Again, the big limiting factor right now is if we had a date. And I understand you're reluctant to want to start booking because we don't have a date. It's like we just have this big unknown limbo universe out there that doesn't have a start or an end. And so, and that hesitancy, you're not the only one that's feeling that. So let's start dreaming. Let's start thinking about it. Let's think about this Disney cruise, these Florida resident rates, and start to think about it. Now, one of the things that's making it a little bit easier is the change in the change in cancellation policies that we're seeing from the cruise lines. Now, everybody's doing something different, although there's one major theme here, and they're calling it all kinds of different things. Cruise with confidence. Let's see that's what Royal Caribbean is calling it. Oceania is calling it book with peace of mind, and enjoy total peace of mind. That's what Oceania, and their program is called the Traveler's Assurance Program. Norwegian Cruise Lines is also got one. Enjoy freedom and flexibility when booking your cruise. Basically, the bottom line is this: first of all, they have, for the most part, moved the final payment dates back to 60 days. We, in the cruise industry, over the last 4 or 5 years, the final payment date has been creeping up, and that's if you're not familiar with booking cruises, that final payment date is what I call, it starts the clock ticking from the time you make the final payment until you actually go on the cruise, you can get a refund if you cancel the cruise. However, the amount of money you get back from the cruise lines diminishes as you get closer to the cruise. So, for instance, once you make the final payment, a lot of times the penalty is whatever the deposit amount was. And then let's say, and before all of this happened, we were making those final payment dates sometimes 120 days out. So 4 months out, we were making the final payment dates. And let's say you wanted to cancel 2 months out, well, then they were only giving you back 50% of your money, all the way down to where they wouldn't give you anything back on the day of the sailing. They moved those final payment dates back for the most part to 60 days. So that gives you more time to decide whether you're going to make the final payment and actually go on the cruise. They are now allowing you for the year 2020 to cancel the cruise up until 48 hours before departure. And you can cancel for any reason you want. You just woke up that morning 2 days before the cruise and said, I'm still worried about the pandemic and I'm still worried about the Rona and I'm not going to go. And they'll give you a future cruise credit. For 2021 sailings, they're giving you can cancel up to 15 days before the cruise and get a future cruise credit. The future cruise credit will be for 100% of the cruise fare that you paid them, and then they'll refund the port charges and taxes. Generally, those cruise credits can be used, they're going to let you use those through the spring of 2022. So you can say, I don't want to go on the cruise. They're going to give you a credit, and then you can rebook. Now, what's happening is if you book a cruise, you make the final payment for that cruise. In other words, you go ahead and make it. The cruise lines cancels the cruise. Then what's been happening, no assurances it'll happen in the future, is they've been giving you the future cruise credit for the amount of money you gave them plus 25%. So you've been getting 125% bonus. So really, there's a lot of incentives to go ahead and make a booking, put the deposit on it, make the final payment a little later on. Almost all the cruise lines are including a price assurance program with this new cancellation policy. Just to let you know what Oceana's is, it's according to Oceana's policy that up to the day of the sailing, you have confidence knowing that up to the day of sailing, should there be another applicable Oceana Cruises public promotion that offers a better value through amenities or price, they may take advantage of that. You may take advantage of that promotional offer and price. So this is one of the big knocks. If I book the cruise now and the price drops, will I get a reduction? And generally after final payment, you don't. We at Cruise Holidays of Viera have a policy that if you book a cruise and the price goes down, and if we're able to lower your price, we will lower the price for you, even though it reduces our commissions. We will do that for you. But now the cruise lines, a lot of them are offering a price guarantee, so that if something happens and they're running a promotion, then you still get advantage of it, so you're not penalized for making an early booking. And I guess finally, in considering whether to go ahead and start making your cruise bookings now, we're still seeing quite a bit of demand. We're still seeing cruises being booked up for 2021. I was just working again on a Disney cruise for a client a few minutes ago, and on most of the categories that we were looking at, there were only, and this is for an April 2021 sailing, there were only 5 or 6 available cabins in each of those categories. So it's not like the ships are wide open and the choice of cabins is getting less and less and less. I really think that we're seeing a lot of bookings for the Alaska season next year. There's a lot of faith that that's going to happen. So if you're particular about your cabin location, I would urge you to start thinking about getting started and start booking now, because we are seeing the bookings starting to fill up as far as the cruises are concerned. Well, just a quick reminder that Just Cruisin is brought to you hopefully each week when we're able to make our broadcast by Cruise Holidays of Viera. And one of the things that I think that you want to consider when you're looking at making bookings for when this whole thing is over with is whether you need a travel advisor or not. And I think a lot of people have come to the conclusion that having a travel advisor doing all of the last 5-6 months of chaos in the travel industry has been very beneficial. I can tell you we have spent many, many hours on hold at cruise lines, getting refunds, future cruise credits for our clients. Those are things that they didn't have. We spent more hours when the future cruise credit came in and it was incorrect, and we had to go back to the cruise line and get it corrected for the client. So it's been a tremendous advantage to have a travel advisor making your bookings for you and then taking care of the details for you on the rebookings and the refunds in case something catastrophic happens like this pandemic has happened. Cruise Holidays of Vieira has been in business for 17 years. Linda, my lovely and gracious wife, who is the co-owner of Cruise Holidays of Vieira, and I have been on over 130 cruises. We've cruised just about every cruise line there is in the world, a lot of the destinations. So we bring personal experience to your booking. And I guess the major thing, the major benefit of booking through us is we really care about what happens to you on your cruise, and we want to make sure you have the very best cruise when you go on a cruise. It's important to us because we like people, and we want people to have a good time and enjoy their cruise. But it's also from a business standpoint, we want you to have a great time. We want you to enjoy our service, and then we want you to tell other people so that we grow our client base and we have more business. So that's really it. We, again, are available to you on our webpage, justcruisinviera.com. On there is a way to email us. There's also a way to search for cruises, and if you find a cruise you like, you can tag it and send it to us, and then we can work out the details for you on that cruise. We can also help you with the airfare for your cruise. If it's let's say we have to go someplace to catch the cruise, for hotels, all of those things we do for you at Cruise Holidays of Vieira. Our phone number is 321-242-1331. Our slogan is "Relax, you're with us," and there are no surprises. That's one of our key goals, is to prevent you from having any surprises when you're booking the cruise or when you go on the cruise. So please give us a call. And you know what? Let's get started. Let's start getting back to traveling and cruising again. We were talking about the future cruise credits, and a lot of you I know have received them over the last few months. And just again, I'm going to talk about when I am talking about all the situations that we're having with the cruise industry and what's going on with the pandemic. I'll take one cruise line and I'll highlight that's what they're doing. That doesn't mean I'm recommending them or whatever. It just means that this is a good example. Cruise lines are not very, they copy each other. So if one comes out with a policy, it generally happens with all of the cruise lines. There may be small variations along the line. But just a few things to remember about the future cruise credit. If you cancel the cruise under the new policies, you get 100% of it back if you have made the final payment. Now, this is important. Future cruise credits don't generally happen unless you have made a final payment. Whether the cruise lines cancel it or you cancel it, you have to make the final payment. So they are getting use of your money for the cruise during the time frame that you have this future cruise credit and before you go on the new cruise. One of the things that Royal Caribbean is offering, and most of the other cruise lines are also, is a lift and shift policy. And what this allows you to do is to move your cruise to the same cruise next year, the following year. It has to be within a 4-week period of a 1 year from the cruise that you currently have booked, and it's guaranteed at the same rate that you have it booked this year. Now, we are seeing price increases in cruise rates from year over year. From 2020 cruises, we are doing lift and shift for people who have December 2020 cruises, moving it to 2021. Sometimes they're saving $2,000 and $3,000 by lifting and moving that cruise. So that's just a word to the wise. Prices are going up. You cannot use the future cruise credit towards taxes and fees. those are going to be refunded to you anyway by the cruise lines. Then you have to repay those. You cannot use the future cruise credit for onboard credit, and you cannot use it at this time. Now they're talking about maybe changing that, using it for other things that you're going to buy on board the ship, such as beverage packages, excursions, and things like that. So, and the future cruise credit has to be applied to the passenger for whom it was issued. So if you got one and then you and your wife had one and then you want to take the kids, you can't apply it for the kids. It's only for the people. If you don't use all of the future cruise credit, they are going to kind of give you a balance on it. They'll give you another future cruise credit for the remainder of the balance, but they're not going to do that until your new sailing sails. Okay? I know it's a little confusing, but the great thing about it is you have Cruise Holidays of Viera to get you through this whole maze. Which reminds me that if you have a future cruise credit, even though you got it from another agency or by booking directly with the cruise lines, you can transfer that over to us at Cruise Holidays of Viera. Then we'll take over the booking. Then you have people helping you with your new booking, even though we didn't make the original booking. So that's a standing offer to you. We'll take over your future cruise credit, regardless of how you made the original booking. Okay, and so we're talking about cruise holidays, our expertise, and the value that we bring to you. I also want to remind you we do all of this at no additional cost. We are paid a commission by the cruise lines, and that's what keeps us in business. And that and the PPP program. Thank you, President Trump, for that. But anyway, that's why we stay in business. And so you can book with us at the same pricing, the same fares that you're going to see on the cruise lines website. The big difference is that if you have a problem, such as the coronavirus, or you need to cancel your cruise, or you need to know all the options about the cruise, you have a person to talk to, and you have a phone number that gets answered in one or two rings. You don't have to press one for English or anything like that. You get real people. It's myself, my wife, and our wonderful administrative assistant, Wendy Borneman. And we will be here to help you. And that's why we say we're a boutique travel agency, because we're small, and that means we get to devote more attention to you and your cruise. Well, let's look at some of the news. As I said, it was a bit sparse coming in this week. American Cruise Lines, and if you're not familiar with them, it's a great cruise line. Matter of fact, we are going to be leaving October 18th for a Columbia and Snake River aboard American Cruise Lines' new ship called the Song. We're going to be taking a group of, I think we got 10 or 12 folks are going out there with us, and we're really looking forward to that. We're going to fly out to Spokane, Washington, and then cruise the Columbia Snake Rivers over to Portland, Oregon, and fly home from there. American Cruise Lines operates 12 ships throughout. They're all in the United States, and I know a lot of you are looking at cruising and traveling only in the United States in the coming few years because of what's been going on. So I invite you to look at American Cruise Lines. We are an authorized agent for them, as we are for about 28 cruise lines. This week, American Cruise Lines took delivery of the American Jazz. Now, this is the third boat that they have built for American River Cruising. It's built specifically for American River Cruising. It carries 190 guests. All of the staterooms are balconies. It features things like the bow actually opens and lowers down, and the gangway comes out, so they can go to places that don't have piers. They don't have to be tied up to a dock or anything like that to load and unload the ship. They, as I said, we're going to be on the American Song. Their newest ship that they just took delivery on this week is called the American Jazz, and it's going to be cruising the Mississippi River, and they're going to be starting in 2021, February to December. with the American Jazz. American Cruise Lines does a lot of other cruises besides river cruises. They do some 60 and 80 passenger cruises up in the Northeast, especially Massachusetts. They do one cruise that only doesn't leave Cape Cod. There's another cruise they do that doesn't leave Florida. It goes up the St. John River. So a lot of interesting itineraries with American Cruise Line. So if you're interested in them, please give us a call at Cruise Holidays of Viera, 321-242-1331. We're very familiar with them, and we have all their brochures and everything and what's going on with American Cruise Line, so we'd be glad to help you. I love people who do innovations and what should I say, entrepreneurs. And there's a fella in England who has created, the cruise lines created it, but he's taken advantage of a tourist attraction. And what he's doing is tours of what he calls the ghost ships, and these are Cunard's Queen Mary, Royal Caribbean's Anthem of the Sea, Carnival Valor, P&O's Aurora, and these are all ships that are docked off the coast of England while we wait out the suspension of cruising. And now we have ships all over the world, but these are out there. And he operates a ferry company called the Moodford Ferry. So he said, what if the ferry company offered tours of ghost ships by sailing out and around them? So he does a 2.5-hour tour with his ferry boat where he goes out and they just chug around these ships that are sitting out there waiting to get started on cruising again. And he says he can go up to 50 meters. I guess that's 150 feet away. He charges 20 pounds per adults, and what is that with the pound right now? It's around $25. $28 per person for his 2.5-hour tour of sailing around and looking at the ghost ships. So I thought that was pretty cool. I did mention earlier the other news that we got, that Delta, United, and American have now got rid of their change fees. Wouldn't it be great if they got rid of the baggage fees to go along? That would be really a great thing. Also, I do want to remind you that we have Disney Florida rates available again. If you missed the first part of our podcast, they are going to be for 3 and 4 night sailings in late January, early February of 2021. If you'd like more information about that, please call us at Cruise Holidays of Viera, and we'll be glad to let you know. They are very, very limited. Some of the other news of the week that I was looking at is Hawaii has now decided they're going to have a quarantine questionnaire that you have to fill out online before you go to Hawaii. I don't know why. I don't see how this is going to stand up in court. I don't know how Hawaii thinks it's a country now instead of a state. For one thing, with all the things that they're doing with the quarantine, and I'm just questioning how legal all of this is. Hawaii just went back into another lockdown, and it's set to expire on September 24th. They've closed everything in the islands, the beaches, the parks, the golf courses. Just really a total overreaction to everything that's going on, and it's going to be a huge damaging impact to the islands and their economy. We are still planning to go out in April for our annual cruise tour. We'll have another one of those coming up later on in the year in 2021, which we'll tell you more about on our podcast. We are Hawaii destination experts. We lived there for over 25 years and go back when we can. We haven't been able to. We had to cancel this April's trip. We were really hoping to maybe go to the islands for Christmas, but I don't know. They're being so crazy out there about the shutdown that I'm not sure that's going to happen. So, well, just to sum up this week's broadcast, we're seeing signs of hope that things are going to reopen. Maybe November, but guessing it's probably going to be more like December or January, again, for short cruises. We're inviting you to dream again, to start thinking about where you want to travel to, what you'd like to do on a cruise, and start making reservations for that. I don't think it's too early to start doing that. it'll make you feel better too. It'll make at least you'll have something to look forward to, and just sitting around and this unknown date of when it's all going to start again. At least you'll have your date, so if it does start, then you'll be all set to go, and you won't have to worry about the stampede that's going to happen to go on cruising. So we would be very honored to help you with that dream and help you to get started traveling again. We just feel like that all the things that are being done by the cruise lines, we know how to handle viruses in the cruise industry, and we've been doing it for many, many years. And I just have great confidence in the Sail Safely program that Royal Caribbean is doing, where they have all of these experts they've gathered together. They're going to produce some great results, and we're going to be even safer than we've ever been before as far as cruising is concerned. So we invite you to do that. Call us at 321-242-1331. And also please subscribe to our podcast so that when we have new ones come out, that you'll be able to hear us and get some more information. We look forward to hearing